Greetings, everyone. Hello, it's Adina here from Immigrant Finance, recording today's episode about the American dream and buying a home. So, this is a goal that so many of you I speak to tell me is one of your top financial goals. It's a huge part of that whole story of the American dream. And so many immigrants and their family members want to own their own home. And I know for my husband Mal, that was a huge financial goal for him for so long to be able to own his own home. I think, from talking to him, I understand it's so important to like set roots here, when you're not from here and be able to have a place that you own and it's in your name and you can, feel like you have a place in this country. So and I know financially for a lot of you all I talk to, when it comes to financial goals and financial planning, like that is the be all end all to be able to own your own home. So, huge part of the American dream. And I wanted to talk about a little bit what's been going on with us, peel back the curtain some, and share some of our experience because we recently just bought and moved into our dream home. It's the second property that we have purchased together. We are in the process of selling our first home and moved into the new one. So a lot of financial stresses and challenges to work through in that whole process with having the two mortgages, right? With having a higher mortgage, with all the expenses with moving. So I wanted to tell you a little bit more about what that's like for those of you who haven't been through this process yet, because I think there's a big problem out there where people talk about, that goal of having a home, but they don't know what goes into that. And we want to make sure that you are prepared for when you take this step and you know all the expenses that go into it and the finances behind it so that you realize it's so much more than just actually buying the property, right? So going to give you a little deep dive on what it's like, the first month with all those expenses. And I'm excited to talk about that with you all today. If you have any questions about anything I'm covering, I would love to connect with you about it. It's obviously something that we're thinking and planning around a lot right now. So it's top of mind. And you can always shoot us a message on Instagram or Facebook. Or that's probably the easiest way to contact us, or send us an email at hello@immigrantfinance.com. So why does this matter? Like I said, a huge part of the American dream is owning property, but people don't talk about the reality of what those costs are. And when you're planning to buy a home, saving for the down payment is usually the number one thing you're focusing on. And that can take a really long time. So sometimes it's easy to forget all the other expenses. And then when you're actually buying the home and you found a house you want, you're thinking about putting an offer down, there's also the closing cost. That's something else. That's something a lot of people also don't think about and know about. So that's a bunch of thousands of dollars more you have to pay when you actually buy the home and you go through the paperwork of putting it in your name. There's a lot of costs that happen for the real estate agents, for the title, the insurance, all the fees. So number one thing when you're first starting to think about saving for your home you want to buy is to be saving for both the down payment and the closing costs. And we could do a whole nother episode on what goes into that, but today I'm going to focus on the expenses that come after that so you know about them. So to give you an idea, here are some of the other expenses that come up. So first of all, the mortgage payment you're going to be paying every month. If you are moving into a bigger home, right, that could be higher than what you're paying now. So that's something you're going to have to adjust and plan for in your budget. There's also the moving costs. So if you can do it yourself and have friends and family help, that's a great way to save costs. But sometimes it's like way too much to expect a friends and family, and you have to pay movers, right? Especially during COVID, sometimes it's hard to like bring a lot of people together. So if you want to have movers help you with moving the furniture and like fragile items like glasses in your kitchen, right? Like plates, the TVs, that's going to cost a lot. Movers are actually super expensive. It can end up being a couple thousand. And then there's all the new utility bills in your new home. So depending on where you live and whether there is a homeowner association that covers some fees or not. You may have the electricity bill, the water bill, the internet bill. You may have to do private trash collection, right? There may be some new furniture you have to buy, right? That can be super expensive. Especially if you want to like get high like quality stuff that you want to have for a really long time, for many years. Like if you're at a stage in your life when you're ready to go beyond IKEA or getting used stuff, that can be really expensive to save up for the furniture that you want. And then there can be sometimes improvements you have to do to the house. So, for example, the house we moved into, we had to get the rug redone. There are like a lot of stains from the prior owner's pets, and it was pretty nasty. And although we didn't really have the investment ready for the rug, it didn't make sense to wait because you have to do that like before you put all the furniture down, or else you have to also pay the rug people to like move the furniture. So that was something we had to do. You may need to do some like urgent work on the house, like if the heating system's not working or something like that. If you need to get some floors redone. There can be those HOA fees, the homeowner association fees. Our last place, the HOA was actually a lot higher than what we have now. We're really lucky. The place right now, it's only $10 a month. So that's great. Right. And there can be additional things too. So these are all things that you want to think about, and know that for the American dream, it's a lot that goes into it. It's a lot you want to plan for. And I'm going to be giving 3 strategies to help you prepare for that, so that you're a little more ready for that step when you get there. And I'll first tell you a little bit about, um, zoomed in, what it's like that first month, and what's going on with us right now. Our first month in buying this second home and moving in, going through all those expenses, right? So we actually had something unexpected, which is that, we were part of our financial planning for buying the second home assumed we would sell our first place and have the money from that sale to cover some of these extra expenses we had. And I'm just being super open book because I love being transparent with you all, and I want you to know kind of what strategies we're thinking and testing with, because that's how we learn and we're able to share with our audience. And I just want to give a disclaimer, like, don't what we do and what we try and what we're testing may not necessarily be what we recommend or what is best for you. Like, financial planning is so personal and it's really specific to your circumstances, your risk level, what sources of income you have coming in. So what we do may not be the best for you, but I do want to share for transparency. So like I said, we were part of our like calculation was based on the first home selling. That was going to be how we funded some of the higher expenses with the new home. And part of that strategy was because one of our priorities was to not have to sell off all our investments to pay for the down payment for the second home. So we chose a more risky strategy than what we normally do, but this comes with practice of learning how money works and learning how to generate when you learn how to generate income on your own, you can have more options and be a little bit more risky sometimes. But we chose that we were going to use up most of our cash in savings to avoid having to sell off a lot of our investments. We did sell off some investments, but with the type of investing that we believe in and teach, it's all about long-term buy and hold, having time in the market, decades in the market for those investments to grow, for your future, for retirement, for your children's college, for generational wealth. So we didn't want to sell off all those investments. We wanted them to continue growing. So that's why we made a personal strategy choice to use up more of our cash, including some of our emergency fund, which was a huge mindset challenge, because I'm a financial coach. I'm a lawyer. I like having things secure. I never like, not having an emergency fund. And this was the first time ever that we used up a good amount of our emergency fund, because that first home didn't sell at the time that we were expecting. It's taking a little bit longer. We're actually holding out in order to get the price that we want instead of just taking some of the first offers that we got that were lower than we had hoped. So because we use some of our savings to buy this second property and to avoid having to sell off our investments, that meant having less liquid cash in the bank, right? And so that made it really interesting to plan for all these new expenses that came with being in a bigger new home, right? So we had to strategize a lot. It brought up a lot of mindset challenges. It brought up that scarcity mindset. And I talk about with so many of our students how prevalent scarcity mindset is in the immigrant community, and how I have it as a third generation, like passed on from my great grandparents who were refugees fleeing for their lives with nothing, and how my husband Mal has it as a more recent immigrant. There's always that fear of not having enough. So this really tested us to have to use up a lot of our cash, right, to make this leap for our family into a bigger home and kind of get through this transition while we were waiting for our first home to sell and be able to pay for a higher mortgage and all of those expenses. So it was a big transformation that happened. We went from, having that scarcity mindset triggered, freaking out about having a very high credit card bill. We always pay our credit card bill off in full every month. We've never missed a month. So the thought of maybe not being able to do so to make this all work was really terrifying. It definitely threw me off this month, put me in a weird headspace, right? And I had to do a lot of the mindset work that I'm constantly doing and constantly teaching you all about how to refocus your mindset and thoughts and energy where they need to be so that you can think more clearly, make better decisions, think more and make decisions more from a place of abundance instead of from that scarcity. Because if we had stayed in that mindset of like, oh my God, how are we going to pay off this credit card bill? We don't know when our first home's going to sell. Like, we don't know we're going to get the money to afford all these new expenses. That that was starting to spiral to a bad place, and that could have gotten really, really dark. And it was starting to go there for a minute. So had to actively switch things and go in a different direction and do a lot of the mindset work. And I share this because mindset work and overcoming scarcity mindset is a lifetime journey. It's not a one and done thing that like you do it once and then you're done the rest of your life. It's every time you up level to a new stage in your life, in your finances, in your financial journey, in your wealth building journey. There's going to be new moments that come up that trigger you and you have challenges because it's life, it's reality, and we're humans, right? We're not perfect and there are going to be challenging times, right? And so it's about continuing to recommit to that mindset journey work, recommitting, not giving up and working on your thoughts and working on getting back to a place where you are tapped more into your abundance and the money that is available for you and the options that are available for you, and not letting those scarcity thoughts take over your brain. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that for y'all to know, like when you're going through it, you're not alone. We go through it all the time. Everyone in our community goes through it. I believe all humans have to deal with scarcity constantly and overcoming it. And you can do it. It takes hard inner work, but you can do it because it's possible. And there are many times when I go through, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, but I know I have to try because I have a bigger vision. I have my family I want to care for. I have our community and our students who I want to keep learning for and keep striving to be better, so I can share what I learned and what the strategies that are working for our family in case they can help you all save time and avoid some of that, or have it be less painful so that you're not alone and you have some direction and guidance of how to go through that. So I'm going to talk about 3 strategies now of how you can deal with these moments where you have like a whole lot of more higher expenses and maybe less prepared than you were hoping for them, right? And when scarcity gets triggered and when the credit card bill gets high, right? Like even financial coaches and planners go through this sometimes, like I'm telling you right now, right? So here are 3 things you can do. The first is all about strategy. So that practical financial strategy of making sure that you are budgeting for those expenses and preparing for them and know what's coming, that you have awareness about what they are, right? And also strategies to increase income so that you can afford them. And this is something you can do preventatively in before you get to a situation like we were in, right? Where you can start anticipating what those expenses are, start budgeting for them, preparing for them, saving for them, and work on learning how to make money on your own outside of a 9 to 5 employer. Start a side hustle, start a business, do babysitting, dog walking, food delivery, whatever it is, so that you can start building that muscle of increasing income, because that's the most effective way to get out of situations like this, right? It's 10 times harder to just focus on budgeting and paying down debt with the current amount of money that you have than to increase income and have more resources to handle that. It's so much easier to increase income. So I'm always encouraging our community and students to turn the focus there. Yes, we have to know the practical strategies of budgeting and paying off debt, and we teach our students how to do all of that, right? But at the end of the day, if you want to be building generational wealth, we need to talk about increasing income. That's what gives you more options. That's what allows you to collapse time, right? You can pay off a credit card bill so much faster if you're focusing on increasing income than just budgeting and paying off debt with the current situation that you're living with. And this is something immigrants need to hear and think about, because regardless of your status, regardless of your background, what opportunities you have, you can generate income on your own, right? You don't need a work permit to be a contractor or have your own business, right? There are things you can do to start making money now. So this is something I really, really want to emphasize, of the strategy aspect of this. Be prepared with the budgeting, and saving, but also increasing income so that you have more options, because ultimately that's how we were able to get out of this, was just focusing on what can we do to increase our income this month so that we can get out of this hole. And that was what allowed us to get out of it relatively quickly. The second piece is the energy aspects of money. So financial planning and strategy for us is a mix of strategy and energy. Energy is all the mindset stuff. Like money is so energetic, and that's why your thoughts and your mindset really, really can determine your situation. So for this piece of it, a lot of it was about taking a leap of faith, that we knew by doing this, it was going to be hard, it was risky, but we were taking steps to grow and expand as a family and as individuals. And we had to have trust in ourselves and faith in the future in order to do that. Yes, all of this was backed up by the practical strategies that I just mentioned, but ultimately really tapping into that trust and faith and letting yourself take a leap of faith and trusting that you will make it work and you will find a way, is incredibly critical when you make a huge financial leap like this. You have to have that spiritual aspect as well that is guiding you. So financial planning really is both the strategy and the practical stuff plus the mindset and the energy. And then lastly, the third strategy is that focus on increasing income that I started mentioning instead of just paying down debt. We reached a point when we realized we were just like staring at the number on the credit card bill and the debt that was climbing as more expenses came in with the new house, right? And the new bills were coming and all of that. And our focus and attention mindset wise was on debt. Now, when you focus on debt, it attracts more debt sometimes, right? And funny enough, we, of course, when that was going on, a $500 medical bill showed up out of nowhere, right? And then our 6 month car insurance payment came up all at once, right? So when you're focusing on the debt, it can like be negative energy that attracts more. So we had to turn the focus to increasing income. How can we focus on generating more income to get out of this? And again, that's exactly how we were able to like really start getting out of the situation and doing the mindset energy work to get out of the scarcity thoughts and beliefs that were also controlling this, and actively choosing one new thoughts and new decisions that would lead more to abundance. So that was a lot of the work involved in this. So again, instead of focusing on all the credit card debt and all the expenses and attracting more debt, like what was happening, feeling stuck with no way out, we had to remember to focus our strategies on bringing in more income so that we could be in a position to handle those expenses, pay off the credit card in full, get through this difficult financial transition, and be able to continue expanding like we are all meant to expand. And so I share all this because you're going to have financial challenging times as well. It may not be buying a home, it may be something else that comes up, it may be a medical crisis in the family, it may be an immigration law related crisis, whatever it is. When these times happen, you have to combine the practical financial strategies with the mindset and energy work to have that faith, have that trust in yourself, and do what you have to do to get through it, particularly focusing on increasing income and having your mindset on that. So I hope this is helpful. Think about all of these expenses and transitions that happen when you pursue the American dream, how it's so much more than just the down payment, how the mindset work always continues. And this is something we would love to help guide you through. So if you want to talk through, your ideas for buying a home or other financial goals you have as part of your American dream, would love to connect with you. You can book a free 30-minute consult with us at immigrantfinance.com/consult. And we look forward to connecting with you and hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks.